Okay, here we go. This is my take on the news around battery swapping. NIO and CATL are forming a partnership. Yesterday I already made a take and I never published it because I took more time actually to think about it and give you my condensed views on this matter. I mean, obviously this is super big news, very exciting news for the whole industry. And to give you a little bit of a preview of what I'm talking about in this video, I think that there has been some concessions made from both sides, and it gives us a glimpse into what NIO is trying to achieve in the future regarding its Firefly sub-brand. So I do think one of the outcomes of this deal is actually that we will see more cost-efficient or more affordable models coming out under the Firefly brand. So what leaves me to think about this way, and also what more can we take from the news announced about CATL and NIO? Well, first, let me start a little bit with some context around that. I think the viewers of this channel may know my views that I've said or published here in the channel in the past, which is that CATL, in my views, is trying to break into a new business model around batteries. CATL, obviously the largest battery manufacturer in the world, so that's what's making this news so exciting. And they have previously first off announced that they're getting into battery swapping. That was a couple of years ago with their brand EvoGo, and then last year just they have also reiterated their views that battery swapping is a huge growth potential, and also that they want to scale up more and more. I also said that I'm quite skeptical about the moves of CATL. In a sense, they make big announcements, but so far I haven't seen much substantial from CATL when it comes to, really pushing forward battery swapping in China. As you know, battery swapping is not only done by NIO in China. There have been commercial fleets, but also other players, but certainly NIO is the pioneer and the biggest one doing it at scale, especially when it comes consumer facing. So I've taken the views by CATL or the announcements always with a pinch of salt because I thought of course they want to diversify out of just manufacturing business into something else. But I mean, you can see that also with some other companies, legacy makers, OEMs, and so on, for example, that they usually have a hard time going from B2B business into B2C business, for example. Battery swapping, BAS, and so on. This is all about service levels as well. It's about brand. It's about user experience and such. And that's not really what you have in your DNA if you're a manufacturer of batteries. But CATL has always been very, very early in NIO already with the NIO Battery Asset Management Company, with the involvement of owning a share in that. So they knew already the numbers, they knew the experience that NIO has of scaling this business, and also all of the the financial parts, the service, the operational parts, and so on of this NIO venture where NIO Capital is invested and NIO and so on. So that's what CATL has already known in the past. So that's a little bit of the context there. They are not new to each other. And speaking of the intrinsic motivation of CATL there, why they are doing that. Now, with the last year's announcement that they're getting big into battery swapping, that's when people said, oh, now we're going to have real competition for NIO there on the battery swapping side. And that's actually a danger for NIO because, a big player like CATL, even raising money at Hong Kong Stock Exchange, they can basically push NIO out of the market if they wanted to. That at least was the official reading there. And we saw always NIO congratulating them, seeing it as an endorsement, and then also saying we welcome that, we are open for more business and more players in the field. But what we didn't get so far was a real collaboration announcement, right? And I said in previous videos, something might be happening there with Firefly and CATL, and even this battery standard called the chock block battery, which is a modular system, meaning you can divide the battery pack in different sizes. And I was deriving that based on what I'm hearing about in the industry, but also on patents that I had uncovered around interoperability and interchangeability of different car architectures, such as 400 volts, 800 volts, and so on. Now, I didn't really expect now that BYD would pull off something like that now and really go into a partnership, because we saw BYD also choosing their own path, getting players on board like the Volkswagen joint ventures, for example, and other players in China. So they could have actually just, do a sideshow here besides NIO. But now with this announcement, why I'm saying that, I think they made concessions. Both sides know that they need each other in a sense. And what kind of concessions did I make? Well, for CATL here, they are saying, well, we cannot do it on our own. We want to partner up with NIO. NIO has the brand, NIO has the image of battery swapping. NIO is the leading player there, and we want to support them. We may take a bigger stake, a bigger investment in NIO Power. That's what's been announced. And frankly, we may need NIO for the operational, the branding, the service side of things of battery swapping, and for making it an industry-wide phenomena, because we know NIO has already announced all of these partners which are building cars on the NIO technology, right? And then CATL, that was my reply to the last announcement in last year, where CATL said they're going to go big into battery swapping, and then people were afraid of what this might mean for NIO. I said, well, CATL is more likely to run on a different technology than what NIO has. NIO is about really the premium to luxury segment. It's about performance. It's about those metrics that need to be actually better than every car that is out there supercharging. It needs to fit with acceleration, needs to fit for quality, and so on. All of that requires a certain technology that NIO has, that NIO already shown the world how they can actually vouch for the quality, right? They said they have done more than 60 million swaps now, and you have the screwing of the bolts, the unscrewing, and so on. Everything is working, and it's working with a high performance system that is based on water cooling for the battery packs, which have high performance. So for such kind of packs, you need a really good cooling system. And in the case of NIO, that is water cooled. So you have also the added complexity that you need to unplug this water cooling system, make sure there's no air going in. And then when you install the battery again, it needs to plug in again and needs to perform, right? Not BYD, CATL is unlikely to run the same system as they are with the mass market here, and more going into the commercial fleets, but maybe also for mass market cheaper cars segments, which don't require as powerful of a battery technology and system. So therefore may likely not actually use water cooling, and therefore the whole battery swapping system, at least that's my reading for CATL, appears to be a different one than what's NIO having. Now, that's interesting now with the news of yesterday that NIO is making the concession here that they are adopting CATL's battery swapping system. Not for current models, but for next models. And that's why I'm saying I think we will actually see cheaper NIO models coming, because that's the logical conclusion here. If NIO is adopting the battery swapping system by CATL for future models, for the Firefly brand, then they will not be using this high complexity but also high performance battery swap system that NIO has built. Instead, they're going to use this chock block, very flexible, very city oriented, maybe mass market, more affordable oriented system that CATL is bringing out there, or has already launched since a couple of years. But frankly, didn't get to a very big scale or adoption so far. So, being in NIO's shoes there, being a pioneer of battery swapping, having like the bigger scale of that in China, and also the better quality and performance possibly with their own technology, going out there and saying, look, we're going to adopt your system, is a concession that they're making, right? So that's interesting. And in a sense, you could frame that into that this is not bullish for NIO, right? You would actually expect that they say, no, we're the number one, you are going to use our system. That's not the case. So that's why I'm saying both players are kind of going together here, and each of them making concessions, knowing they want to give the other party something in order to get something back. And I think that's the really nature of the deal here, which is interesting because it's showing some collaborative nature as opposed to where the rest of the industry certainly is, or even the rest of the global market, which is usually, not collaborating at all. But NIO and CATL are doing that here. And in this regard, I expect going forward that they will really shape the industry when it comes to what role battery swapping will be playing together. So it's not this one party rules it all and wins it all approach. Instead, it's a collaborative approach that's getting clear. And therefore, CATL taking a stake in NIO Power. Therefore, NIO agrees to adopting a battery swapping standard by CATL for future models. And that's quite interesting because the result is, of course, NIO is getting some new funding. They get the endorsement by CATL. They get possibly lower R&D for some of the future models of Firefly. So there are real cost-saving implications. On the other hand, they might also get something back in terms of maybe CATL starts endorsing the NIO swap system on top for premium to luxury cars, maybe with some of the partnerships that CATL themselves are doing, or through other ways. Who knows? What's now certain is that with such a big battery player and NIO together, and those two systems with different swapping stations, they are the most likely in the end to really shape the whole industry, as I said. And that's exactly what BYD wanted. One more insight that we might have from here is that NIO said that the first Firefly model obviously is still running on their own developed solution, so that's not going to adopt the CATL one. And there will be a fifth generation swap station coming out. We don't know more about that yet, but I'm now just doing a moonshot here, suggesting that this will be multi-bay, multi-swap standard, multi-brand, and multi-partner. So maybe they bring out a new battery swap station that not only will make the Firefly models, all of them, swappable in this new battery swap station, but also the CATL partners, the NIO partners, basically all of them. This interoperability, multimodal, all of that might be coming with the next swap station and may become this physical hardware merger between CATL and NIO swap standards. At least that's how I'm reading that and how it's kind of, suggesting the future going forward based on this deal. But for now, as I said, it's being concessions made on both sides, but they do agree here that they want to form this partnership and endorse that publicly, and that's big news for itself. It's maybe not what each of the NIO investors wanted to hear out there, in a sense of how dominant NIO is and what role NIO plays here as being the pioneer of battery swapping. But again, it shows some long-term thinking, I think, and it might be the more sustainable way of doing that, instead of, being just the only party and pushing through. Because so far it's been NIO and criticized for that they are running this heavy investment into the swapping. And now with this big partner on top integrated, maybe things become easier also for the adoption of the whole industry going forward. And we now see more customer segments and target groups being addressed out of one collaborative partnership. and we see some changes to the NIO model as well with that. So that's my reading of that. It might change with another night of sleep, who knows, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and see you in my next videos.